it remains true that if you're transparent and honest with each other as a couple, you're going to have more success. You're going to be closer. You're going to be more connected. You're not going to have those secrets that are holding you back from growth and progress.
Smart money parenting.
Welcome, everyone, to the Smart Money Parenting Show. How's that for radio voice?
That's great.
This is Chad Willardson. I'm with my guy, Scott Donnell. And
What's up?
Today, we've got a topic that's going to blow your minds, make you a little uncomfortable. And as usual, it may not apply to everybody listening, but for those of you who it's applicable to, we feel it's going to be very valuable. I am broadcasting live from a balcony in Tamarindo Beach, Costa Rica. I'm looking at a beautiful view of palm trees, pools, swimming pools, and a tropical beach. But I'm choosing to be here with Scott because this is just too important not to talk about today. Scott, what do you got, man? What do you got?
Well, we got a topic that's probably going to ruffle some feathers, but in a good way. So when it comes to smart money parenting, you don't parent alone. It takes two people to make a baby. We're being very transparent that, a lot of our listeners are either married. A lot of listeners might be single parents. Maybe they're co-parenting. Maybe they have a significant other. People come from all different circumstances in life, and a lot of things happen. And so we have a lot of different types of listeners. And we have a topic today that has come up over and over and over that we have to hit on. And it's marriage and money. How transparent should you be? Whether you're married or you're co-parenting or whatever it would be. How transparent should you be with your spouse or significant other or co-parent around the topics of money? And here's the point, Chad. I've got several friends that I've talked to this topic about over the years. And I'll just use two friends, okay? Both in a situation where the husband's the one making the money and the wife is the one that's spending the money. Like I have this joke that I make the money and my wife spends it, and we have this perfect relationship because I don't like spending money and she's at home with our kids and raising them. And it's actually a perfect combo because she's thrifty, she's smart, she still gets like the coupons for Fry's grocery store and Safeway and Whole Foods, and she'll go wherever the good deals are. She was a first grade teacher, so it's just awesome, right? I want to be sharing with her everything. But I have a couple friends. The first friend said, yep, I'm completely honest about everything, even if it's hard or even if money's tight. And there's been benefits and there's been drawbacks, right? And then I have another friend who he's in charge of the paycheck, and his wife doesn't even have access to the account. She has access to the credit card and that's it. And I was like, well, why? And he said, well, I just don't want her to worry. I don't want her to be fearful or worried about our money situation. I want her to be happy. And I want her to, feel like we can pay for things for the kids and take care of things for the family. Those are the two camps we're talking about today. Does that make sense?
Yes, I got it.
So how do we navigate this? Because I get, I get some of it on both sides, right? But if money's tight and money's in a tough spot, sometimes the spouse that's making the money doesn't want to worry the other spouse. They want them to be happy, but there may be some secrets in there that aren't healthy. The other side of it is, if you're transparent, there could be shared worry, but there can also be incredible power and confidence in being together in it and working through a plan and keeping each other accountable and getting through it. That's the two sides of this camp. And the other part of this too, Chad, is sometimes significant others or husbands and wives have different accounts. Like you have your account, I have my account. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? What's your reaction to this?
Oh, man. I mean, I've been counseling couples for 21 consecutive years on their money issues, money goals. And from my experience, people marry typically opposites when it comes to financial blueprints. There's a spender and there's a saver. There's someone who wants to want what?
Polar opposites.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I've seen. And so it's funny because within 5 minutes, I've already figured out on the couch or on the Zoom call, like who's who in the couple, what their challenges are. I already know like what they're going to be dealing with, what fights they have about money. Like it's real easy after 21 years of doing this. And usually the person who set the appointment with us is the one who's very much on the go with money and always like paying attention, because the other spouse doesn't want to be on the Zoom, doesn't want to come and hear about it, and doesn't want to come to the meeting. It's just
Yeah.
funny. So
Yeah.
people ask me all the time though, like, hey, I'm getting married or my son's getting married. Should they have the same, should they share their financial accounts? Should they have joint accounts? Should they keep their money separate? Who pays what bills? I have seen every single kind of arrangement in a couple's financial situation. In fact, I remember meeting with a client back when I worked at Merrill Lynch. This was 2003. Meeting with a client, it was a couple, and they came in, we went over their investment accounts, we reviewed the portfolio, their financial goals, and then the husband asked if he could stick around a little bit extra, and the wife excused herself and went to go shopping in the area, get some lunch with some friends. And then he talked to us about his other accounts. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, I was 24 years old, and he's just like, and here's my accounts that have a few $1 million in them, and she doesn't know about it. And I was like, what in the world is going on right here? I'm just sitting there taking notes like, all right, I don't know how this is going to end up, but something's going to happen at some point. But
Something bad. Yeah.
this is not going to end well somehow. Like, it's just not, if you're hiding a few $1 million from your spouse. But
What's
here's what I'll say.
what's that quote from The Office?
Which one?
That stripper. She comes to Michael Scott's party and she says, secrets are no fun. Secrets hurt someone. And it ended up being his like relationship advice with his girlfriend at the time.
That's funny. Oh, wow. Oh man. All right, we digress. Yeah. So like I don't know if there's a one size fits all answer as far as like how many accounts should you have together? Should you ever have separate accounts? Should you ever have separate credit cards? I don't think that's easy enough to just say, here's my blanket statement. I'm going to tell everyone to do the exact same thing. But I will say this, if you are married and you plan to stay married more than a couple days, I think honesty and transparency are critical. They're essential. They're very important to a healthy relationship. Whether you've got more money and you're afraid the spender is going to spend it, or you don't have enough money and you're afraid the saver is going to be stressed, like you have to have that transparency if you're ever going to be on the same page. And so if you want alignment in your marriage and your relationship, you've got to work together as a team. You can't work as separate individuals who have to be sharing the bills in the same household and even sharing the children. Like, now, obviously, if you're co-parenting, you're divorced, you're single, this is not applicable. This is different. But if you're a married couple, I don't see how you can succeed having, all kinds of secrets. I actually gave 2 interviews in February for the Morning Brew. I don't know if you've heard of that publication, The Morning Brew. So they did like marriage and money and love and money, like a whole love and money section for their publications in February for Valentine's Day. And I did a bunch of interviews and articles for them on love and money. How soon should you talk about money in a relationship? Should you share everything if you're just engaged? Should you wait till you're married? There were some really cool articles and interviews that we did on that topic. And I would just say this, the bottom line is honesty and transparency is the healthy way to go about building unity and alignment in your marriage. Yeah. There's no way around it. You're going to have to face the truth at some point. And whether it's a lot of credit card debt or it's hidden accounts, those things are going to come up. And the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be. So my advice as a professional in the wealth management space is have these conversations, be transparent, share your honest concerns with each other, but don't hide stuff that's eventually going to come out in the wash.
Right. And even on the other side, if you are in charge of the money and you don't want your significant other to worry or stress, but you're shouldering all of it, it's going to come out in other ways. You're not going to be able to show up fully in the relationship. You won't be able to show up fully with the kids. You're going to have all these weights and stresses that your spouse or significant other doesn't even know anything about, and they may attribute that stress to something else, and it will cause more arguments and conflict. So that's why transparency actually at the end of the day builds confidence and intimacy in a marriage, right?
Ooh,
Physic-
intimacy. That's true. That's
I
true.
was learning about this.
Emotional, physical. Yeah, let's
I
hear
was
it.
learning about this morning. You got to hear this. Like physical intimacy grows with emotional and relational intimacy first, right? Like if you want to know like another word for intimacy, it's into me see. You see into me. Like that's what intimacy.
Oh, wow.
And so
Wow.
like if you really want connection, right? Like smart money parents are connected. They're unified, right? It's like 1 + 1 = 5. That's the point of a smart money parent. You are aligned in your goals, you're aligned in how you communicate, you're aligned together to raise smart money kids. And so this is a critical one because usually the spouse that's working full time, if one's at home and one's working, that spouse is shouldering stress and a lot of things that are going on that they may not be sharing all the time with the significant other, especially with kids, because with kids, you're just busy. Like you're just like sometimes you're gritting it out and you're passing trains in the night because you got sports and food and schoolwork and a million other things. And it's like 10 o'clock at night and you're like, hi, I love you, bye, going to bed. And so intimacy comes from first emotional and relational intimacy. And that you have to have transparency to get there. There's this thing that this guy, this guy, Chad Moore, came and spoke to our guys group this morning. He said, do you have a file in your head called I can't talk to my wife about this?
Oh, wow.
Or do you have a file in your head that says I can't talk to my husband about this? He said the goal of the most intimate marriages, physically, spiritually, relationally, emotionally, everything, is to have nothing in that file. You have to have a way to have 100% transparency and honesty with your spouse.
I like that.
And until you get there, secrets are no fun. They hurt. It's so true. And I've even felt this in my own life with Amy. It's like, yeah, there's just things I'm struggling with or things that I like, oh, I don't want to talk about this, but then they just get worse. And then they just fester and things in the dark.
And you haven't given the other person the opportunity to even be on your team. Yep. Because you're withholding information. And I think, Scott, let's be honest, the person listening to this podcast is the one who cares more about money management stuff, right? If your spouse is not listening to this with you, we already know who you are. You're the one who's like really into getting better with money, managing money smart, and you're the one who's probably more intentional on it. Do your marriage and family a favor, listen to the show together. Like pop our show on and listen to it together and pause it, have a discussion about it. Right. And you make a great point. Let's talk about families where both spouses work. I think both spouses working, both parents working is a lot more common today than it used to be. Yep. And you might say, well, we have different checking accounts because my salary gets deposited into my account and their salary into their account. I think once again, it remains true that if you're transparent and honest with each other as a couple, you're going to have more success. You're going to be closer. You're going to be more connected. You're not going to have those secrets that are holding you back from growth and progress. And I think that's what the important part is anything in your family where you've got secrets. In fact, the term that I used in some of those articles in February was financial infidelity. And they talked a lot about financial infidelity. What does that mean?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just sexual infidelity, but it was financial infidelity. There was an article, I don't remember the title, but I was interviewed for that. And I was like, man, that's an interesting concept. Are you being unfaithful with money? Wow. And I think that's a great thing to dive into.
Right? Or withholding things with your spouse.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
Dan Sullivan says this, all progress starts with the truth. Yep. And when we can be honest and transparent, we can give our significant other or our spouse the opening to love and support and help, or the vulnerability to cause problems. But what Chad and I are telling you guys is what we've seen over and over and over is when you can be humble and not prideful in a marriage, you go a lot farther. And it starts with you. Everyone who struggles in a marriage just says this: I wish my spouse would X. This is my problem too at times. If only my spouse or my significant other would do X, it would solve all these problems. always have to look in the mirror. Pride blames, humility looks in the mirror. And love is an action. It's a verb. That's what it is. And feelings follow action. And so if you can start being humble and transparent and honest with your spouse, taking the steps to love them better and have these conversations in a safe place, be kind, be gentle, be loving, you're going to give potentially your spouse that opening, that window to love you back, to support you back. Say, you know, it's okay. We got these debts. We'll figure it out. You know, let's make a plan. I'm with you in this. We're together. What else are we going to do? We got kids. Let's do this. I love you, you know? Like,
Yes.
I got this. You got this secret pain. Let's get through it. Let's get counseling. Let's go
And Scott,
have some friends. Like, do it. Just do it. Like, it's better than having a stomach ache every night when you go to bed.
you're absolutely right, Scott. And one thing we need to recognize is that you and your spouse, marriage partner, significant other, you come from very different money backgrounds. And I think that is where most of the challenge comes from, is like, I look at money very differently as a tool and vehicle than my wife's family does. We don't come from the exact same ideas about wealth building or entrepreneurship. We don't come from the same ideas about vacations or spending or loans or what we should pay for the kids, right? So it's impossible. I'm going to say this actually, from 21 years of professional experience, it's impossible for you to agree 100% of the time on money stuff with your spouse. It's impossible. It's not going to happen. My wife and I disagree about money stuff. Every client I have disagrees with their spouse about money stuff, but you work through it. You may not have the exact same outlook on what's right, what's wrong, but if you have the same shared outcome goal for you and your family and your marriage, then you can work through it. But you're not going to, by default, you're just not going to come into a marriage or a family and say, oh, look at that. Magically, we see eye to eye on every single money decision we're going to make as a couple. It's just not going to happen. So let's start from a foundation of honesty and transparency so that we can work towards that alignment and that unity that we're all searching for.
That's it. Great marriages are built on grace. That's it. You're not allowed to use the Smart Money Parenting Show as a gavel or a hammer to pound your spouse into submission. That is not the point. But if you can be humble and gracious with your spouse, and with the goal of intimacy and transparency to unify you two together, and you just say that, like, honey, I want to be open. I want to help each other. I want to be transparent. I want to be on the same page. And I love you, and I need to humble myself and apologize if you've done something wrong. Doesn't hurt to say you're sorry and work through issues. And, I can just feel that some of the listeners right now, they've got secrets. They've got things that are hurting them, personal stuff, money stuff, debt stuff, extra account stuff, not knowing how to have those conversations. It's okay to have them. And maybe if you're really worried and you're on the rocks, go talk to someone else first. Go find a mentor that you trust. Go find a counselor that you trust on how do I have this conversation? How can we be together on this? My desire is X. My desire is to connect, to be one with my significant other or spouse. My desire is to co-parent in this sort of way, right? And that is something that you can have, like this verbal drafting with a coach or an advisor or a mentor or a counselor first. And then you can have it with your significant other if you're worried. If you have that trust built up, have it now. Have it now. Like, do not wait. People literally they procrastinate on this stuff because it's hard. And it's like, it can get painful and it's scary. Vulnerability is the scariest thing, because when you fall in love with somebody and you get married, or you're dating or your significant other, and then you have kids and you raise kids, that vulnerability is terrifying, because you let somebody in deeper than you've let anybody else in ever in your whole life. So it's like they have the capacity to love you deeper than anybody ever could, but also hurt you deeper than anybody else ever could. And so you just have to be humble and gentle and gracious with them, and just pray that they do it in return. Like, that's all that you can do.
God, that's great advice. And I'll close by adding this one thought. In the spirit of honesty and transparency, share your money goals with each other. Share your money concerns with each other. What scares you? Maybe one of you has an irrational fear about money stuff. And if you just talked about it, you'd have a lot more clarity and you'd have a lot more confidence. You'd have more peace of mind. You'd have more unity. You wouldn't be scared alone or have these concerns. And maybe it comes from not understanding money. If you're listening to the show, chances are your spouse or significant other is not as financially savvy as you. Maybe you're the one who cares a little bit more about the details of this stuff. So have the conversations and say, what worries you about money? What scares you about money stuff? Or what are you most excited about in financial goals for us as a couple? These conversations will strengthen your marriage. I can promise you that.
And they'll get you going in the right direction. It's like rocket fuel. When a couple gets aligned in something, man, like you run, you just sprint rather than walk. It's way faster. And so it's more healthy for everybody. I got to share this real quick before we end. When we did your life, financial
life inspection,
So we did your financial life inspection, just full transparency. Amy and I used Chad because he's freaking the best. And so we sold our company and we still argue about money. It's ridiculous. But, and we had that full financial life inspection. And after we did that, we put everything in one dashboard. It was like, here's our accounts. Here's the insurance stuff. Here's all my businesses. Here's the investments. Here's the credit cards. Here's everything in the one thing, right? You see it all, the dashboard. You see your life, your net worth, you see everything. And it changes in real time. Like after that meeting, Amy looked at me and she said, for the first time in our entire marriage, I feel secure.
Wow.
I feel safe, not just with the money. It wasn't the dollar amount. I promise you that. And it was a good dollar amount. It's not like that was not it could have been 1/10 of the amount. What was powerful for her was just knowing it all.
Yes.
If you got hit by a bus, God forbid, tonight, I would, because she had this secret fear that she had no idea all the business stuff I was doing or where all the accounts were, or everything like that. I'm handling most of this stuff. So she was like, I feel like way more safe and secure and honestly confident. And like, this is a great thing for our marriage. And some of it was good. Some of it was bad. So I made bad business decisions. Everyone who's an entrepreneur has made bad business decisions. And those are some of the scariest things to tell your spouse about. But guess what? The other side of that is incredible freedom, incredible transparency,
and trust.
And trust.
The trust has gone up. Yeah.
Yeah. So just, Chad and I are seasoned war veterans in this. And we just want to encourage you guys out there. If secrets are no fun, secrets hurt someone. You've never seen The Office? Are you kidding me?
That's of course I have. No,
that's the best episode. Anyway.
That's funny. No, anyway. I'll close with this, Scott. Appreciate you sharing that and that endorsement, by the way. I will say this, the non-financially inclined spouse does gain so much more appreciation for everything when you share it. And so I've seen that, what happened to you and Amy, I've seen that so many times as, both people in the relationship can now see where everything is and they can access it and they feel secure and confident. And it helps both sides out, right? You guys are in a much better place because you've gone through that process. And I feel like if we just increase our honesty and transparency, the trust goes up, the love, the intimacy, everything improves. And certainly money is something that we can be faithful or unfaithful with. And so that's what we're encouraging you to do today. Strengthen your marriage, strengthen your family.
And your kids are watching, whether you know it, see it,
no doubt.
They are always watching. They're always listening. Even if they're in another room, they're hearing it and they will embody it. Whatever you do, they will embody it. So that's what we want to talk to you guys about today. Thanks for listening. If you got a question, go to smartmoneyparenting.com, give us a follow and share this episode with your spouse, significant other, a co-parent. We're no judgment here. Raising kids is hard. It's crazy. We want to help you be as successful as you want to be. And if someone needs to hear this, please send it to them. And we hope you guys listen and follow, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
It takes more than money if you want to succeed. You gotta know what to do with it. You gotta take the lead. You gotta give them confidence. You gotta make them smart. If your kids are gonna thrive, now's the time to start. Smart money parenting.